Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tech Talk with Bill Baer. My name is Dan Holm. I'm the CEO and co-founder of IT Unity, and we're proud, as always, every 2 weeks, to welcome Mr. Bill Baer with us. Bill's the Senior Technical Product Manager for SharePoint at Microsoft, so he's very responsible for helping to bring us all the goodness that is SharePoint 2016. Welcome, Bill. How are you doing up there?
Good. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great. It's looking a little darker than normal up there. We must be after the autumn equinox.
It is. It's that time of year again where we're down to a couple hours of daylight.
Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us. So today we're going to start by talking about one of the announcements that you made 2 weeks ago, which was the availability of Office Online Server. Tell us a little bit about, that for those of you who weren't on the last episode, it literally launched almost while we were doing the episode. So Bill, fill us in and catch us up on the status of what used to be WAC.
Yeah, so we had a lot of questions when we shipped SharePoint Server 2016 IT preview, particularly around capabilities like Excel services, which were deprecated in SharePoint 2016. And per the TechNet documentation, the guidance was to implement Office Online Server when it became available. And there was a natural reaction that these Excel services capabilities would only be supported in the cloud because people looked at Office Online Server as a cloud-only offering. So basically what Office Online Server is it's not just a cloud-only offering despite its name, it's also an on-premises server as well. Effectively, it's what the Office web applications used to be, plus a ton of new features. So Office Online Server, again, is not only an implementation that we use in Office 365 to drive browser-based interaction with content, but it's also an on-premises server that replaces the Office web apps server. So, for those that were looking at a lot of that documentation and they saw that there was some capability that was deprecated in favor of Office Online Server, Office Online Server is, in fact, the on-premises version of web apps, which includes Excel Online as one of those capabilities in this particular case that we're talking about. So we shipped it last Tech Talk on the 11th of September. Effectively, we shipped it simultaneously with the Tech Talk, so we didn't get a lot of time to be able to spend on what Office Online Server is.
And Bill, just a quick question: how are we supposed to refer to it? Is it Office Online Server on-prem, or what's the what went into the naming of the product? There's been a couple of people joking about that over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, effectively, that's if you think about Office.com, where you can access the free versions of the online clients, so Word, PowerPoint, Excel, if you're using your Microsoft account or you're using OneDrive for Business. They've always been referred to as Excel Online, Word Online, PowerPoint Online, and if you think about what Office web apps used to be, it was exactly that. It was a set of web applications that installed in many cases in the past as a service application that you deployed in unison with SharePoint, and then in about September of 2012 it evolved into a standalone server. There was a number of reasons for that, so it kind of broke the relationship with SharePoint, not in respect to anything technical, but the Office web apps used to be the web apps companion, and they were tightly integrated with SharePoint as a service application, and largely their functionality was only applicable to SharePoint. And then in September of 2012 we broadened the relationship of the online versions of the client software to be able to support technologies such as Link or Exchange, SharePoint, Yammer. So there's a number of different technologies that we're able to take advantage of it. Effectively, anything that can support WAPI can take advantage of the Office web apps, or now the Office Online Server. And from just a pure naming convention sense, Excel Online makes a lot more sense than Excel web application or PowerPoint web application. PowerPoint Online is just more sensible in respect to naming. And so effectively that's what it is. It's just a rebrand of the Office web applications, but it brings a ton of new functionality to you. So some of those capabilities, like one that we talked about at Ignite, that was kind of one of these nebulous things for the longest time, was durable links. and largely because nobody could take advantage of a durable link until we shipped the Office Online Server product.
Awesome. And a couple of related questions just to the positioning of the product and the brand. Will Outlook web application become Outlook Online, or has it already and I missed that now?
So at least for Outlook, it's still OA, and I think that's where people's familiarity lies. And then obviously there's an Outlook.com too that's more representative of the consumer side of the product.
Right. And is there an official three-letter acronym for Office Online Server? Is it going to be OOS, or is it going to still refer to as WAC?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. I think to date people have started to refer to it as OOS, and that'll probably be something that sticks, much like the term MOS stuck way back in 2007, and everybody referred to it as MOS. And then, to their dismay, in 2010 we went back to SharePoint Server. So I think OOS, while not kind of the official acronym that we use, is probably something that people will refer to it as I've seen it in a number of different places already.
Certainly is a fun word to say. So yes, I think OOS is going to stick, so to speak. Well, great. So are there any? Are there any new? What is the net new experience with Office Online Server on-prem for those people who have not yet had a chance to install it? Does it really bring the on-prem experience up to the level that the Office 365 Office versions have?
Yeah, I think in a number of different cases it does. And let me see if I can move over to screen sharing if possible.
Sure. Great.
Bear with me for a moment while I figure out how to do it. Aha, here we go. Alrighty, let me know when you can see my screen.
We can.
Okay, so here we're looking at Fabricam Healthcare, one of our favorite companies. Hopefully you can see that. But let's talk about one of those early capabilities. So durable links was something that everybody had a question about, and I blogged it a couple of days ago, but I think a picture is always worth more than anything else. So just to explain what a durable link is effectively a durable link is a resource-based URL that enables you to move documents, change the name of documents without impacting the integrity of the link. So in this case, suppose I'm working on a document, and I'm working here with Fabricam. So perhaps I'm working on a document here called the merger draft. So as you can see, I'm getting ready to upload a merger frequently asked question document in draft form. So I'll just go ahead and upload the document real quick. And once the document's uploaded, as in any other case, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on my draft before I start sharing it more broadly with individuals. So in this case, assume that this document has now become final. So I'm moving beyond the draft state, and I want to finalize this document. But the problem is I've already taken this link here and shared it with a number of different individuals. And as you can see, Office Online Server gives a nice little preview here. But let me just go ahead and copy the link that I have. Sorry, and it pops away when I shift between applications. So just give me a second, and I'll go to Notepad. So you can see here. Here's the link that implements the draft moniker. So here we are with merger FAQ draft. So we can see this is the document we uploaded. Now, in many cases, as with any other type of collaboration, I want to be able to share this document. So let me just go back to Fabricam here and share this document. So I'll just go in, I'll click share, and then I'll invite somebody to share with. Missing my screen?
Now we got it. We got it now.
Okay, it's back. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and share this document with Mark. So I'll just go ahead and click share. So now the document's been shared with Mark, and in many, what you do is you copy the link to the document and you send that link via email to Mark. But then what happens is at some point throughout the life cycle of this particular document, what I want to be able to do is rename it. So now we're going to get to a point to where the document's no longer draft, but effectively it's going to become final. So I'll just go into the property of the documents, and I might turn this into merger FAQ final. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. So now it's merger FAQ final. Now I'm back at the document. I'm going to go back in and just grab this link as an example. So now that I've renamed the document, and bear with me while I go to Notepad to show you the two links that I have. So here, as you can see, we have two links to the document. The initial link that I sent Mark, as well as the link that I copied as soon as I renamed the document. So as you can see, here's the link to the document using the draft moniker, albeit the document no longer contains that. So let's just go ahead and switch back to my Fabricam homepage, and let me know if you can see that, Dan.
It'll take a second. There we go.
All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and paste that in, click enter, and as you can see, I used the old link and it took me to the document. Now, let me just go ahead and switch real quick, and I'm going to grab the new link. So here we are with the new link. I paste that in, and as you can see, it took me to the document. So in either case, that link took me to the document, and the reason is if I go back to Notepad real quick, one of the things that we can look at is looking here, there's a resource ID, effectively a GUID associated with the document. So in this case, I have the draft link that I sent to Mark and the final link after I rename the document. But in either case, each link will take me to the document, regardless of whether I rename that document or move that document. And the way it works is when we look up a link to a document, or effectively what we now call the linking URL, the lookup is performed in the content database using that GUID. So lookups are performed using the unique identifier associated with that document, or its resource ID. And that's what enables you to move it between document libraries, between sites, or even rename the document. The reason is because when we look up documents, we look them up by their unique ID as opposed to by their name. So that's kind of what a durable link is. So durable links take a lot of the work out of having to always remember to send out a new URL or effectively update the link to send it back out to individuals. So you don't run into that problem of sharing a document and then a week later when something transpires with that document throughout the course of its life cycle, such as it gets moved or it gets renamed, you don't get all the emails that say, hey, I can't access the link anymore, because the link will continue to work regardless of what happens to the document, because we perform all of the lookups based on that resource ID right there.
That's great. So, and you mentioned that you can move this document between libraries, but also between sites, anywhere on the farm?
Correct.
That's
now, you know, obviously the one thing that you'll have to manage is permissions of the documents themselves. So as you begin to move them within document libraries, and you have to think about permissions inheritance, but effectively the link will always work, but the permissions aren't going to follow the document, particularly if the document's inheriting permissions from somewhere else.
How would someone move a document between sites or site collections without effectively creating a brand new document? How would they do that in a way that would maintain that durable link?
So just to move it, there's a number of different ways that you can move it. You can use content and structure as one of the ways to move it. Now obviously you could drag and drop between libraries and browser windows. So there's a number of different ways that you can move, you know, a document. But typically most people will move with content and structure, or they'll move using the move commands from the context menu. But you know, like I said, the beauty part about it is that link always works. So again, I can go in, I can remove final, I can click save. Once the document's saved, I can go back, I can get the link again, and of course the link is now just going to reflect that final, and then from there I can take it away and use that link in a number of different places. The other thing people will probably notice as well is this isn't applicable to Office Online Servers. You got this little phone button over here to the side. So basically what this phone button does is it enables you to create a link that can be used on a phone. And the way that that works is if I click on that little phone, it's going to generate a QR code for me. So as you can see, I can now scan this code. I can expand it to make it bigger if I need to, and I can leverage that code from a mobile perspective as well. So if I wanted to generate a link for phone quickly as well. So not a capability that's associated with Office Server, but just a capability that you can leverage right there next to the link. And I just thought I'd bring that up since it's sitting right there in plain view.
Now, it might be just that it's early in the morning for me here in Hawaii, but you just in that preview box showed a print to PDF button. Is that new?
Yep, ability you get. So in this case, I can just grab it. This is my merger document again, and I can click here. I can click print to PDF, and as you can see, it tells me that my PDF is ready. It gives me a link to the PDF, and all of this is being generated by Word Online. So I can click that, and as you can see, there's my document right there. And as you can see, it's being dropped in by the Office web application. So the PDF is available in a Word viewer. So let me just go back real quick and see if I can find a better document for you that has more text, just to give you an idea of how that works. So let's take this document here. This is our glycoprotein and reduxicon data sheet. And as you can see, this document has a bit more content in it, so it'll look a little bit better when we perform this action against it. So here's the document itself. I can come in and I can get print to PDF. It generates the link. I click on the link and it'll generate a PDF version of that document as well. So here we are with my PDF version. So it's kind of cool in respect to that. I can also go in and I can get an embed link too. So if I wanted to present this via an iframe, I can go in and I can get the embed link. That's been pretty customary of Office web apps, and then I can also download copies. So there's a number of different commands that I have available to me from that surface right there.
And are those new to this version of the Office Online Server as opposed to what we had in 2013?
Not necessarily with embed or the ability to download a copy, but the print to PDF capability has been substantially enriched to where you have easier access to it. You don't have to go in, to the Office client and save it as a PDF. If I wanted a PDF, I can just quickly get one, and then I can use that PDF. And that might be important, in this Fabricam case, to where I finalize this document, and now I want to protect the integrity of the document. There's a number of different ways I can do that in Word, but perhaps I want to make this document more portable. So that's one quick way that I can do that. And then once I have my PDF, I can save that back to the document library. I can print it out, share it in a number of different ways. So it's a pretty cool capability that's natively baked in there into the Office web apps. Obviously, PowerPoint Online, very similar. So I can come into this PowerPoint presentation and generate previews. So I can work my way through the document. I can view notes. So as you can see, we have some speaker notes in my document. I can go into an editing view. I can work my way into a slideshow view if I wanted to present this, and then I can edit it, via the browser, or I can edit it via PowerPoint.
That's great, Bill. Hey, we've got a number of questions from the community around this concept of moving documents and how to do it in a way that preserves the durable link. So people wanted to get some clarification because I think if people imagine dragging and dropping between browser windows, clearly that works to move the document, but it's boggling our minds a little bit that would actually preserve the durable link when you drag and drop and are effectively creating a new copy of the document.
Yeah, so that's going to be more or less moving it within the same site to where you don't. So let's say you have two browser windows open and you're moving it between two separate sites. Now, obviously, in that case, you're creating a new version of the document. And that's why I said most people, the way that they're going to do it is they're going to use content and structure. So they'll come in, they'll hit content and structure. So let's take this particular case, and as soon as that loads, they're going to documents, and they're going to find this. And this is going to be a move, within a site collection itself. So I can come into documents, see when that loads. Bear with my little share farm here. It's only a single machine. So I've got my merger FAQ. I can take this particular document, and hopefully you can still see it. And I can use the move command. And now I can move this, say, to, let's just move it to site assets and click OK. Oh, and it doesn't want to let me do that. But, I can move this thing around in a number of different ways. So I've moved it, and it should end up now in Fabricam brand, hopefully. and then eventually. But in this case, once it, let me try that one more time. One of those Friday morning demo fails.
That's okay, Bill. You don't have to beat yourself up on that one. We got a funny question in the chat from Paul, which is, when is content and structure going to get some love and stop looking like SharePoint 2007?
Yeah, you know, that's kind of one of the things. I don't know if content and structure will be ever one of those things that's substantially invested in. You know, sometimes actually when I go into content and structure, and this will probably be the first time that I have in years, in many, many, many years, that I've actually gone into content and structure or looked at content and structure logs. But you know, every time I do it, I get a little smile on my face, because it does have some nostalgia associated with it. As you go in, and you know, particularly if you've been working with SharePoint for a long time, it kind of takes you back a little bit. But I don't think it's going to be something that you're going to see substantial investment in to refresh the user experience around content and structure. It was a great concept when it was initially implemented many years ago, but you know, the number of times I've ever had a question on it or I've used it myself, I could count on one hand if I was missing 3 fingers.
Hey, and is this durable link, is it exposed in any way to developers? Because I'm thinking of, you know, is it going to be possible for developers to build content organization tools that allow you to basically force a durable link? So let's say, for example, a lot of users, when they update documents, they don't just rename the document, they save a new version, because that's the way they've done it for 20 years. They're just used to, you know, saving it as version 2 edited by Dan. But it would be nice for the organization to say, okay, that is the current version. Let's take the old durable link from the previous version, or copy in this case, and poke it into the new one so that it maintains that durable link. Is it going to be A, exposed to the UI at all, and B, exposed to developers at all?
Yes. So you know, from a UX perspective, at least the way that a end user would instrument or leverage a durable link, it's relatively programmatic. So as soon as you have Office Online Server bound to your SharePoint environment, in preview of both of those, you automatically get the capability of durable links. So there's not necessarily anything that an end user would need to do to instrument or create a durable link. They're programmatically created for them. Now, for IT professionals and developers, there are ways that you can instrument durable links, and basically what you're going to want to use is you're going to want to use SP list, and then you're going to want to drill down into the item level, and you'll notice that there's a new property available to you called the linking URL. And the linking URL is the way that we construct a durable link. So a linking URL is a multi-part concept or construct, which begins with the relative URL, the document library, the document name, and then effectively the document ID, which is a unique identifier. So for developers and IT professionals, you can instrument durable links via PowerShell, or you can instrument via the OM as well if you're a developer. So there's a number of different ways that you can leverage a durable link programmatically, but for end users, it's relatively an abstract thing, and that's the beauty part about it, because there is nothing that you need to do. You get the durable link as soon as you have Office Online Server bound to SharePoint, and then you can just begin working with documents. So really the idea is make it as transparent as possible for end users.
Well, that makes great sense. That's certainly the number one pain point is the users themselves, not what the organization is doing. So that's great. And I can imagine if we've got the ability to force durable links to be somewhere as IT pros or developers, that should be enough to cover us in the rest of the scenarios. That's really, really cool.
Can I?
Someone had a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Sure. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Oh, sorry. There's just a little bit delay between us. Nigel was asking, is there any plans to implement copy and paste between site collections with files?
So, not that I'm aware of. From a document movement perspective or a lifecycle perspective, I don't know of any capability that we've been considering to enable you to perform a copy and paste action. Now, there's another way if you want to revisit the early days of SharePoint, which is obviously you can via the ribbon, you can use the old Open with Explorer method.
Right.
There's one of those ways you can do that in Internet Explorer. Obviously, it leverages an ActiveX control that's not going to be available in Edge or a number of different browsers, but from an IE perspective, you can go old school, and the document libraries, your source and destination, can both be opened in Explorer, and then you can perform a copy and paste between the two. But nothing that I'm aware of that will natively allow you to, per se, grab a document from here via a copy command, and then move it somewhere else. Now in this case, what I can do is I can leverage the copy command from the context menu. As you can see, I can have a destination, so in this particular case it's department sales, but I can move documents that way for a copy.
Awesome. Awesome.
So let's say
this is a dev show, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, and I was going to say, in this case, let's say I wanted to take this particular document, create a copy, and call it copy. So I'm just going to rename it real quick and leverage the same destination. So as you can see, I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to get a couple of errors because what I'm doing here is I'm trying to actually copy it to the root. But what I can do is I can come in, take a document, choose copy, specify a destination. Once I've specified the destination, I can choose the same or a new file name. I can send out an update when the document's checked in, or do a number of different things. But really, I think the ask isn't about the copy command that's available via the context menu as much as it's probably about the ability to say right-click a document and actually copy it like an or this is what I envision this particular question probably more related to.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, cool. Well, I know this isn't a dev show, so this might not be a question that you're able or ready to answer, but with the new unified API, I know with OneDrive, you basically are telling OneDrive to suck in a document based on a URL. So wouldn't that be something that a developer could actually put together, is the ability to basically take the URL of a document as the copy, and then as the paste, basically poke it into the unified API as a file request?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that you'd be able to do, and the nice part about it is whether you're in Office 365, where durable links exist as well, or if you're on premises, as much in the case that we are right here, because part of our SharePoint developer vision that we've talked about is this idea of being able to build once and deploy anywhere. As a result of that, we've done a number of different things, particularly in IT Preview. One of the initial developer investments is common consent. It found its way into IT Preview, as long as modern file APIs. And what the modern APIs are is those Office 365 files APIs, calendar API files found its way into Preview. So the great part is in this particular use case that you mentioned, if you wanted to build something, it's something that not only you could build for on-premises, but it's something that you can have enough portability to where you can bring it online if you're leveraging those modern APIs. So there's definitely some great benefit to developers in respect to the way that we envision developing on top of on-prem and online. But that's kind of a side answer to this particular question is not only can you do it, but you can do it once and then be portable to take anywhere with you.
And one other question that I think, to rephrase something that someone was asking, durable links, to be clear, do they require the Office Online Server, or does SharePoint actually bake in durable links on its own now?
No, so durable links is a shared responsibility between both SharePoint and Office Online Server. So absent Office Online Server, you don't have the ability to generate or leverage durable links.
Gotcha. And so I assume the sort of enforcement of keeping the durable link unique lives with Office Online Server?
Correct.
Gotcha. Fantastic. All right, so we are moving into a time that we can ask Bill anything. So in addition to questions about Office online server. If you've got other questions, feel free to paste them into the question and answer panel. You can just use the chat panel to do that, and we will pass them on to Bill here. Let me see if there's any sitting in the queue. We've got copy and paste. We talked about content structure. Umar is asking a question you've answered our previous tech talks, but it's always good. It's a popular question, which is what are the plans for responsive site design?
So, that's something we're definitely looking at. It's something that we want to be able to do as it stands in IT preview. It's not something that you have available yet as part of the product, and I know this question comes up a lot. We've heard it a lot. It's in user voice, so we've seen it, and that's kind of my guidance from earlier tech talks, which is if you ever have a question around specific capability that we may be working on, I always encourage everybody to visit user voice and see if that suggestion's been made. But not only does it let you know what the suggestion's been made, it lets you know what response is as well. So responsive design is something that's come in through user voice. It's probably, if not the primary thing that's driving the most votes today. It's in the top 5 of capability that individuals want with SharePoint 2016 and even earlier versions of SharePoint. And if you look at the status of that, it's we've marked the status as working on it. It's not something that you're going to find in IT preview, but it's definitely something that we acknowledge as a necessity that customers want. Coming back, like I said, the one thing that you do get in to leverage the mobile exist in Office 365. So looking at my screen again, as you can see, I mobile to append my URL, and once I set the mobile view to true, I get that experience that you're probably familiar with OneDrive for Business and Office 365. So I can go in, and as you can see, I can see my documents, and I can click on them and do things. Now obviously I'm using a browser, but I can use the mini app launcher to navigate between properties, and if I wanted to, I could go back to PC view. So that's kind of what you'll find in IT preview, at least in respect to investments in mobile, and that doesn't mean that that's the only investment we're making in mobile. That's just one of the ones that we're able to accrue back from the cloud to on-premises, so you can call that the low-hanging fruit. And then we're thinking about different ways that will manage the overall SharePoint user experience as well.
Cool. A couple of other good questions here. What is now that Office 2016 has launched, what is the plan or the capability for integration between SharePoint 2016 and the Mac community?
That's a good question. It's not one that I have a good answer to. So, typically it's more of a client-centric question. Something that I can get an answer to that we could probably talk about at the next Tech Talk. We could talk about Office 2016 and SharePoint integration. I'll need to do a little bit of research, largely because most of the points of integration are driven by the client team and not the server team where I sit.
Gotcha. And with Office Online Server, does that actually work with SharePoint 2013? And if so, does durable links kick in?
Yep, so Office Online Server works with SharePoint Server 2013, so it's backward compatible with early versions of SharePoint. The question about durable links is one that I don't know the answer to. I haven't tried it. I might actually spin up a VM after this Tech Talk just to see if durable links apply, but basically a durable link, again, is a resource ID-based URL through which the ID is generated by the Office Online Server. So my gut inclination is that Office Online Server is the source for generating the durable link itself, which should be applicable to 2013 as well. I don't know if we have any plumbing in 2016 to make it only available to 2016. It's definitely a great question. Without having tried it, I don't know the answer to it, but I do know that Office Online Server works with 2013. I just don't know if a durable link will. My suspicion is that it would.
And if you reset your WAPI bindings, do you lose your durable links?
So since the durable link's stored in the content database, you won't lose your durable link. So in this particular case, in my environment that I showed you today, I reset my binding a number of different times as I was working through my initial deployment, because it started out as something that I only wanted to, an environment that I built on a private network that I didn't want to expose externally, but then I realized I wanted to be able to access it from any machine, so I had to expose it externally. So I had to do a number of different things, and the easiest way to do it was to reset my WAPI bindings and just remove, my WAPI machines from the farm, or my Office Online Server machines from the farm, and create a new farm. And surprisingly enough, all of those durable links stayed, and that's because the ID is stored in the content database. So the first thing I talked about with a durable link is not only is it a unique identifier, but it's a unique identifier that's stored in the content database that's used for lookup purposes. So those links will always be there regardless of whether or not you reset your bindings.
Awesome. And a great question from Carol, and this is another one that we get at every Tech Talk, so it's important to emphasize. For those of us who have no plans to move to Office 365 for budget or compliance concerns, her comment is we aren't gaining anything by upgrading to 2016. So I'm going to ask a question on her behalf and ask the actual question she had, and that is, at what point, how should businesses interpret this preview as far as evaluating the actual business value out of it? And then her second question is, how long will SharePoint 2013 be supported?
Yeah, so, it's kind of a two-part question, so I'll give you a two-part answer. On the first part is, one of the first things that we talked about when we shipped our 2016 IT preview was that it is an IT preview. So the investments that we've made in IT preview are largely those that drive the SharePoint infrastructure. And we talked about on a previous Tech Talk the justification behind that particular pattern in respect to the way that we released it. For people familiar with 2013 and earlier versions where we've shipped previews, we've shipped incomplete products, but largely feature-complete products. So incomplete in respect that we hadn't worked out all of the bugs yet. We haven't refined a lot of things, but from a feature completeness perspective, earlier previews were largely representative of what the final product would look like, with a few enhancements coming along. With this particular release, we took a step back, and one of the first fundamental things that happens in development is obviously infrastructure. We have to build the infrastructure to build the features on top of. And in a way that allows us to more efficiently build the product at scale, we decided to ship what we call an IT preview. An IT preview is representative of primarily those infrastructure investments, as well as a few other investments that were low-hanging fruit that we could squeeze in to the preview. So from a business use perspective, if you're a business user and you're concerned about the capabilities that would front your end users, many of those won't exist in this particular release. Because we fundamentally are trying to drive validation of the infrastructure investments, while in parallel we're focusing on those business investments. And the good news is we have a release candidate coming later this year that will be more indicative of the final product. So, my statement would be is don't judge IT Preview as being feature complete. Look at IT Preview as being an infrastructure release that will be followed by a release candidate that will finally be more indicative of what those final investments may or may not look like. So, we recognize that not all of our customers can move to the cloud. Cloud's not a wholesale proposition. And then one of the things that we've talked about is hybrid, and how hybrid can drive, some of those experiences. So in this particular case, just to talk about hybrid real quick and show it a little bit of love. Here, as you can see, I'm in a, let me go back once. So hopefully you can see my screen. And let's just go ahead and do a quick query. So now I'm in Office 365, and you can tell up here, Office 365, and there's my URL up at the top. So I'm just going to search for Fabricam, a bunch of stuff back, but that's not the query that I want to run. So in this case, within the Fabricam site collection itself, I found Fabricam. So I found this document, Lorem Ipsum Dolor Sit Amet, final. So this is in my Office 365 site collection. Let me go ahead and expand this to everything. As soon as I expand it to everything, you're actually going to see that I have, or should have, another document, Fabricam brand photo. So if you look at the URL here, this is the URL I was using to show you the Office Online Server preview as well as what SharePoint 2016 looked like. So now I have online and on-prem content within a single search center. The easiest way, you know, is I could also do this. I could say is external content, and I can say true. And as you can see, I've got a ton of content now that's showing up from my on-premises SharePoint environment. And the reason here is because I've wired this environment up with our new hybrid search, which is natively baked into SharePoint Server 2016 IT preview. So for customers that can't take advantage of the cloud, there are ways that you can. Now, you know, as you can see now in my type ahead, I have that merger FAQ, and that was something that I had just created a little bit earlier. That content's been crawled and it's been pushed up into my index, so I can come in and I can search for Fabricam inside of Delve. I'm going to have content from both on-prem as well as online. So as you can see, I've got a number of different documents. I don't think merger FAQ is going to show up quite yet in my index. So I've got this document that contains merger, but it doesn't quite show up in my index. And the reason is because, let me just go ahead into central administration real fast. So now we should be looking at central administration. Inside of here, I can go to my service applications, and you'll notice I have not only a search service application, which is my on-prem crawler, but I also have a cloud search service application. And my cloud search service application is the one that's driving all of that metadata into Office 365. So, you know, if you're not quite ready for the cloud as a wholesale proposition, there are ways that you can leverage its innovation without having to migrate all of your content to the cloud in order to take advantage of that innovation. So there are ways that you can do that. Now the last part of that two-part question is, what about 2013 and its long-term supportability? So all of our products follow effectively the same support lifecycle, which is a 5+5 in many cases, 5 years of baseline support, mainstream support, and then you can subscribe to an additional 5 years of support as well. And that's why InfoPath Form Services, or InfoPath, the client, is supported through 2023 because you have the 5 years of mainstream plus an additional 5, and that's applicable to the server software as well. So, you know, the answer to that question is SharePoint 2013 will be supported for a while yet, but SharePoint 2016 we envision to be great value, not only in respect to all the infrastructure work that you get, but the cloud accrual, some of the new things that we're doing via hybrid, such as the one that I just showed you with the Office Graph and Delve and Search. But, you know, additionally, you get probably one of the most tested versions of SharePoint that we've ever released because it was born in the cloud.
Awesome. And let me call out one thing I saw in your demo there, and then I've got a couple of questions that people have asked. In your demo, when you did the search, you used a property of is external content. Was I missing something, or is external content actually bringing back your on-prem results?
Yeah, so those were my on-prem results, and
that's because the search is actually in the cloud, so your on-prem is external to the cloud. Is that the idea?
Yeah. So basically, what happens is when my crawler goes in, my cloud search service application is going to crawl my content. It's going to take the metadata, much like it does, but as opposed to storing it in my index on premises, it's actually going to push that metadata into my SharePoint Online index or my Office 365 index. So effectively what we've done is not only is all of my content in Office 365 being indexed and stored in the cloud index, but all of my indexed content from on-prem is being unified in that same cloud index. And the way that I can validate that my crawler is working properly is I can use that is external content property, which is new to the cloud search service application. When I set it to true, I can view my on-prem content. When I set it to false, I can view my online content. And that particular case where I use that property is a way that you can validate cloud search. The other way you can validate it, obviously, is perform a search and see if you're getting content back from both.
You do know that people's heads are going to start exploding when they're searching and external content is considered on-prem and online servers run on-prem. People's heads are going to start to blow up. You're going to have customer brains all over.
And there's ways, you know, if I wanted to, I could create a I could, you know, create some new query rules and some new scopes around it, and I could use result blocks to say online on-prem, And the beauty part about having this new property is to create the result block. All I have to use is search terms and then specify the is external content true property. And then I can have a quick result box that only shows the external content. Or, I could create a search vertical. So there's ways that you can limit it, but then you start to defeat some of the value. And the value is now you have a unified set of search results that can be refined as a single entity, as opposed to the old federated query model where you are working with two discrete sets of results.
Cool. Hey, Bill, how much more time do you have? Because I know we've gone over our allotted time.
About 2 minutes. Yeah. Exactly.
All right, I'll ask what I think is an easy question, and then for the rest of you, we'll tackle your questions on future episodes. But someone's asking about the upgrade story from SharePoint 2010. What is the current path? Is it still basically a two-hop upgrade from 2010 to 2013 into 2016?
Yeah, so from an upgrade perspective, upgrade's going to follow the traditional upgrade approach that earlier versions of SharePoint did. So it's version-to-version upgrade, which means you have to be on the current in-market version to move to 2016, which means if you're a 2010 customer, you'll have to upgrade to SharePoint Server 2013. Once upgraded, you'll have to validate that all of your site collections are running in 2013 mode, so you can't run any in backward compatible mode in order to facilitate upgrade. And then from there, it becomes a database attach experience. So it's very similar to earlier versions of SharePoint. Now, there is no direct upgrade path from 2010 to 2016. It is something that we had initially looked at to try to determine the possibility. But if you think about a lot of the complexity that comes with two very distinct code bases, 2010 versus 2016, there's a lot that could go wrong in that upgrade because the infrastructure has changed fundamentally between these two releases. Now, 2013 is effectively the Genesis block for 2016. So the upgrade from there to there will be, relatively clean. And everything should just generally work. But from a 2010 perspective, because it is, so differentiated from what 2016 is, you can't just perform a direct upgrade. Now, my recommendation is one of the simple ways to accommodate that scenario is you could build out a single server machine in Azure and just use it as a proxy for upgrade and just attach databases, get them upgrade, and then move them. So there's a quick way to do it, and a lot of customers did that from 2007 to 2013 as well.
That's a great idea. Well, so there's a lot of great questions sitting in the queue, particularly about the user profile service, extranets, and OneDrive. And so I think we've got some topics for future webisodes of Tech Talk. And for those of you who are interested in those and other great topics, we will be coming back with Tech Talk on October 23rd. So we're going to skip one cycle, and we'll be coming back on the 23rd of October with Bill. Friday the 23rd. And we'll be talking about more great topics with Bill. He's actually going to be kind enough to join us for a Tech Talk from his vacation in Hawaii. So hopefully I'll have a chance to see you here, Bill.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan.
And thank you guys for coming. We will look forward to chatting with you on the next Tech Talk. A real quick shout out and thank you to Caligo for bringing this to the community and making this all possible. And as always, Bill, thank you so much for spending an hour or two with us every couple of weeks. It really means a lot to us in the community.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan.
Take care, everybody.